Hey, in this video, I want to talk about my experiences meeting lots and lots and lots of new people in a new city and kind of outlining the framework that is coming to mind for me when it comes to how to create really resonant relationships, or more so like how to find really resonant relationships. So I moved to Chicago about less than 12 weeks ago. I knew a couple people in the city, but I was really focused and intentional about wanting to create a community in the city, find my people, kind of like capital M, capital P, my people. I have my people in my life, friends, family, peers, people that I really respect, and I know what it's like to be with my people. The way I describe it is I try to I use the word resonance as like kind of a moniker or a one word to describe the feeling of being with my people. To me, that's the feeling that I want, like basically all the time with people that I'm spending my time with. And that feeling is really like safety. Like I am safe to just be myself, express myself, be goofy, try new things, just kind of be my full self. I can kind of be deep sometimes. I can be, like I said, silly, goofy, making, dumb jokes. And that is like all received well. And I feel like the other person understands me and is not like judging me or gonna shame me or anything like that. So I think we can hopefully all relate to that feeling of like, this is what it's like when you're with people who you resonate with and they resonate with you. So that's what I'm looking for. However, it's very important to me in my life to have those people and have those interactions in person and often. So I wasn't having those interactions in person and as often as I would have liked in my previous dwelling, my previous city that I was living in. So I decided to move to Chicago, to a place where there were lots and lots and lots more people and therefore more opportunities to create something like this. Also, the area that I moved to in Chicago is very walkable and very dense with people. So I was like, okay, that's an even better opportunity, because if I meet someone who lives close to me and we resonate with each other, then we'll be able to hang out much more often instead of having to get in the car and drive 10, 15, 20 minutes to get to each other, which in my experience, it just doesn't happen. There's so much friction there that it doesn't happen. So, just kidding, I have that on a timer. I was expecting that. But, so here's what's happening for me when I have moved to the new city. And so first off, I've been going to lots of events by myself that are like meetup events that are targeted towards meeting people in the city. So a lot of the times it's like meet new people in the city, or like people who just moved here, we're here to meet friends, right? So I'm going to events that already everyone there is open to meeting new friends. Like that's why they're there. There are some communities that I've tried in the past, or activities that I've tried, where the people are not super open. And then I kind of come in with this like energy of trying to connect and trying to meet people, and it's not reciprocated and it's not really aligned with like the event. And then I kind of leave feeling like, oh, like that was weird, something was off. So that's not the vibe, right? So what I'm instead choosing to do is go to places where everyone's trying to meet people, everyone's trying to meet friends. I have found it pretty easy to meet people in those spaces. I can just kind of go up and say, hi, I'm Ethan, and hold my hand out for a handshake, and like that's it. And I kind of have a couple of questions. I ask, where do you live in the city? What do you like to do in the city? kind of like, yeah, like what are your hobbies? Maybe what are your favorite coffee shops? Because I'm someone who, I work remotely, so I go and work from coffee shops a lot. So I like to hear if people have favorites, things like that. So I'm asking questions that I genuinely do care about. And even if we don't connect or this isn't like an interesting interaction, at least I might possibly get some information from it. So to me, this is a little bit of a side note, but when meeting people in the past, sometimes I would be like, what, like, why am I even talking to this person? Because like, I'm like, well, I want to have a super resonant friendship, but it's like, you know, there needs to be kind of like a reason in the moment for me to go talk to this person. And what I've found is curiosity, like genuine curiosity, is always a good answer. And if you show up and ask a genuine question and someone is closed off, or they answer with a one-word answer, or they ignore you, which are the things that can be scary, those outcomes can be not ideal, that's not your fault. Like, that's their problem, or not their problem, but they're responsible for that. And that's something I've learned in the last, I don't know, year, where it's like, okay, if I'm coming at someone with a certain kind of maybe high energy, just the energy that I naturally have, trying to connect, and they don't want to connect, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with them either. It's just not energetically not a fit in that moment, and that's okay. And then, so I can take that cue and leave. But a lot of the time at events like this, there is a connection that's made. Now, like I said, I am someone who really wants resonant relationships, and that has that feeling, like I described earlier, of like, we understand each other, we get each other, we are having a good time, we can have fun, we can kind of show all sides of ourselves with each other. And I'm kind of talking like platonically here. Romantically is kind of maybe something similar, right? So now the framework. Okay, so I have met lots and lots and lots of people, probably upwards of, let's say, 200 people in the last 3 months, who are just like a new face, a new person, and I say, hey, I'm Ethan, nice to meet you, and ask a question, and we start talking. So the way that I think about it is, every time I talk to someone for the first time, there is a probability, this is like a pie chart, I guess, like a small probability that it's like we instantly click, right? And I can ask questions that are more likely to get someone to kind of open up and say something that I can sense is a click or not, right? If I just say, hey, have you ever been to this bar before? And then they say yes, or they say no, neither one of those responses is going to give a click, right? But if I ask an open-ended question that I genuinely care about, like, what do you like to do in the city? And then they're going to give their genuine answer. And a small percentage of those answers are going to sound really cool to me. You know, if someone says, like, for example, maybe they say, well, I like to sleep in, and then from 10 to 12, I go out to the lake and I sit on the lakefront on my blanket and I read fiction. And then from, 1 to 5, then I go write the novel I'm working on. And then in the evening, I hang out with friends, right? So that's an example of where I'm like, whoa, like, I'm so interested in that. Like, what a lifestyle. Like, how do you do that? How did you land on that? Like, that's interesting, that's different, right? And then I'm asking questions, and then eventually, potentially, they start asking me questions, and they're genuinely curious about my life. Now we're clicking, right? Now that's like, the foundation is there. Okay. Now that's very rare, I will say. For me, that does not happen that often. A lot of the times, people have an answer that I don't really resonate with. And that's okay. I can still be genuinely curious. I can still ask questions and try to understand, what is it like to be them? They obviously know a lot of things that I don't know. They have all of their own experiences. That there's lots to be interested about, even if the person themselves isn't saying interesting things. So I try to get myself socially in that mindset before meeting people, that like there is so much that I can be interested in regardless of if this person is interesting or not. So, a lot of the times once I have these conversations with people, even if they're not super, like we're not resonating, right? We're not clicking, I'll still get their phone numbers. And a little tip that I learned about this, I will offer them my phone number. That's kind of like a thing that used to trip me up. Like, how do I get someone's number? It's like, it can be a vulnerable thing where you ask a question like, can I get your number? And then they might reject you by saying no. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of times I'll just say, hey, I really enjoyed chatting with you. Can I give you my number? Maybe we can hang out again sometime. And every single time they say yes, and they take my phone number, and then they can choose to text me or call me or reach back out. So if they're really not comfortable with it, they can just ghost and never talk to me again, and that's totally fine. So I'm putting the ball in their court. But I'm also expressing, I enjoyed chatting with you, and I would like to chat again sometime. I only do this if I actually do want to chat with them again sometime. There's lots of people I talk to where I say, it was great chatting with you, have a good rest of your day, and leave. And I don't make that connection or exchange of info. So, the framework. When trying to create or spot a resonant connection, the question that I've been grappling with is, does it have to be a click right away? Like in the first, let's say, 30 minutes of chatting? Because I've had that experience in my life where in the first 30 minutes of chatting with someone, I'm like, oh, we're on the same wavelength. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not judging them as good or better than other people. It's just that we're the same, or we're similar, or there's mutual interest here, right? And I've had that experience. In some cases, I've had that experience within like 5 minutes of talking with someone. And that's like a drug for me. Like, that is intoxicating, and I want that. I personally have found that it's really difficult to like to go to a place where that happens regularly. Like, I have not found a place where that happens regularly for me. And that could be very different for other people, but that's just how I am. And so in my mind, I'm like, I don't think there's a place where all of these people are that I would resonate with, that I just need to plug into. Because if that existed, and I'm open to it existing, but I've looked very, very hard for a long time and have not found it. So I'm open to keep looking, but if I want this thing, these resonant relationships, I am taking on the responsibility of creating them. Meaning, I'm creating spaces where someone who might resonate with me would enjoy being and would enjoy hanging out in and spending time in with me. Does that make sense? So, people that I resonate with deeply, they also have a depth and kind of a complexity to them. And usually how I know we're resonating is that we're having like a very deep and kind of intellectual conversation, like early, like the first time we chat or the second time we chat. And they're talking about ideas. They're not talking about people or places or, hobbies. It's like, they're talking about like conceptual. And that's how I am, right? I'm making videos about concepts, right? Like, that's in my free time, right? For really no reason. It's just because I like it, because I like having these conversations. So that's how I am, and I've learned that about myself. So I know what resonance feels like. Now, the question though is it possible for someone that I don't initially resonate with for me to have a relationship with them that eventually reaches resonance? Said another way, can a relationship that's like, let's say 9.5 out of 10 intimacy, kind of like emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, like just we are whatever I've described, resonance. I should just have used the word 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, resonance. Can it start off at like 5 out of 10 and build over time? Or not? And at this point, I mean, that's kind of a question for the viewer here. So comment below if you have a take on that. My take is that resonance can be built, but if it's starting out kind of low, like maybe you don't have a lot in common, or maybe you see the world in a really different way, or you've experienced the world in a really different way, or your brain works in a really different way, I think that in order to build that resonance, you need a lot of time together. Meaning, like, a lot of people have really strong bonds with their high school friends, for example, or college friends, or work friends. Not necessarily because the relationship started off resonant and they immediately were two peas in a pod, right? It's more just like we had so much time together that we had to become friends. And like, it was more fun if we became friends. And I have friends like that, right? Where I'm like, okay, we don't have all that much in common anymore, but we spent so much time together that now we still enjoy each other's company, right? So as a 26-year-old with a job and living in the city and meeting other people in their 20s and 30s with jobs, like, and lots of stuff going on, there's not as many opportunities to like just spend a ton of time with people. So in my mind, I could probably become really, really good friends with a lot of people that I don't initially resonate with, but I think it would take a lot of time. Like us, like, going to eat together, or spending time at a park together, or just doing activities, but also having conversations and getting to know each other and really like understanding. I think I just understood what this really is about. Resonance, I think, is about mutual understanding, at least partially, like at least a part of this puzzle, and it might be a big part, I don't know, is mutual understanding. And if I and another person decide to build mutual understanding, then we can build it. It will just take time. However, if I and another person immediately have a shared understanding of each other because we are fundamentally similar, then we don't really have to build it as much. And now it's like, hey, I'm hanging with my homie. It's like I met him or her 30 minutes ago, and now it's like, you're my person. I want to hang out with you. I want to chat and get your take on this, and we'll probably agree on a lot of things and disagree on some things, and that'll be interesting. But there will be kind of a resonance there, and I think it's a shared understanding of each other. And I don't really know how else to describe it. But anyway, if I'm trying to have one or more resonant relationships in my life, I don't really want to have to build one from scratch personally right now, just with where I am in my life and with all the other things I have going on in my life. I would rather find one, meaning just happen to talk to so many people that I talk to one person and we just click immediately, and it's like, okay, this person's cool, like I'm gonna hang out more with them. Does this make sense? I in my mind it makes sense, but I don't feel like I delivered it super clearly. But that's kind of my take on I'm moving to a big city. I want to have, I don't need the 4 out of 10 relationships anymore. Like, I have enough of those. And honestly, a lot of my people in my life who live in other places, when we're together, it's a 9 out of 10 resonance. But in reality, it feels more like kind of a 4 out of 10 because I only talk to them every couple of weeks or once a month or something like that, right? So they're not really present. And so in real life, I'm like, I don't need more 4 out of 10s, but maybe some people do, and that's okay, right? But I'm just kind of like feeling this out for myself. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I am with this, and um, I think that's my framework for how to create or how to find resonant relationships. Really is just meet a ton of people, be very open, be very genuinely curious in people, and ask questions that will give you some information about what is this person like. And if they meet you with genuine curiosity back and they have interesting answers and they have maybe interesting responses to your answers, like now we're vibing, now maybe we kind of get each other or we're similar in some way. So that's where I am with it. And so far, I actually have met some people who it kind of felt like, oh, okay, I could talk to this person for a really long time, which is a cool feeling. And I think that's kind of the beginning of what I'm talking about here with resonance. So yeah, then there's maybe a couple other things about like, is this person in like a similar life phase? Are they going through something like, are they thinking about the same things I'm thinking about? Are those conversations something they're willing to have? Are they looking for the same thing I am, right? Do they want to be getting a new best friend, or are they kind of like, hey, I'm good, like let's just hang out once a month? So those kinds of things need to align too. But yeah, I haven't really consumed much information about like kind of the nature of making friends as an adult and like kind of breaking it down. So that's where I am right now. And I'm just going to keep doing that, keep showing up to these events. Probably also then whenever I get a bunch of people's numbers, kind of inviting them back into spaces that I'm leading and I'm kind of setting the tone for, so that if the people then resonate with that and want to keep coming back and want to keep hanging out, it will kind of they'll filter themselves to be like, oh, these are people that I resonate with because they resonate with me. And the people who don't really like that vibe will stop showing up. You know what I mean? So by no means am I suggesting you have to do that part, like hosting events and stuff. Like that's something I'm interested in because I'm like very all in on meeting new people and having like new, really, really good friends in my life. And I have the time and resources right now to do that kind of thing. But I don't think that's necessary. I think that first conversation can kind of give you an idea. And then you can just follow up with like just the most resonant of the people that you've met when you go to these events that are for meeting people. So that's what I got for you today. I feel like I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. And yeah, good stuff. Chat with you later. Bye.